broken up based on whatever committee?
I found it. I'm gonna bring a proper mouse in with me next time, though.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's see, we do have the quorum. Jim Smith and James Graves are not here, but we have the remaining 5 are here, so. Reminder about, make sure the microphone is on when you are speaking. We need to adopt the agenda, so take a look, see if you need to add anything or want to change anything.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. I need to adopt the minutes from September 4th. Make sure we don't need to make any corrections or changes.
Mr. Chairman, I am going to abstain from that vote since I
Did you?
wasn't present at that meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion to adopt the minutes as submitted.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the minutes for September 4th, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we apparently have 3 cases tonight. As always, I'll read the case. We'll have staff input.
Mr. Chairman, may I? And I didn't put it on the agenda, but I liked, is it okay to do an introduction of our new team member before you get started with your cases? I know we put out notice to all planning commissioners and board of supervisors as well as the local media. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I do appreciate your time allowing for this introduction before your cases you hear tonight. The county, as you know, upon the vacancy of Ms. Kleiderbuck, we put out an advertisement to search for our next planning and zoning administrator. We had roughly, I believe it was around 9 applicants. We narrowed down, there was 4 interviews and 2 finalists, excuse me, my English is a little off tonight. Upon that, the county had made their decision and selection. So with me tonight, I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Nichols as our new planning and zoning administrator. Mr. Nichols, for a little bit of his academia, he has his bachelor's in business administration from University of South Carolina. I know it's a different division, or it's not the Gamecocks per se.
It is. It's
It
just
is the
different- just
Gamecocks.
different campus.
Different campus, forgive me, so go Gamecocks. And he has great military service as well. And recently, he has started his appraisal business over the last several years, has done very well. I will say those attributes of researching will go very well with this position. The county does recognize and wants to put out front that we do not see any conflict of interest. Legal and the county, along with Mr. Nichols, have taken appropriate steps to ensure there's divesting of any interest there to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest. I have had the last couple of days of pleasure of working with Mr. Nichols, allowing them to dig into various property records and helping folks coming in. So I think we're off to a great start. I'll give them an opportunity to say a brief words, and then we're really going to get back to your agenda. But please, when you get time, go down and see them in the office and get to know, build a rapport, and ask any questions you have. Mr. Nichols, real brief.
Thank you all for having me. I certainly appreciate it. I think we'll work well together, and I'm going to try to make the Planning Commission and the board's job as easy as possible by getting you all the information I can, as clear and concise as possible. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, again, I'll read the case, staff response. If the applicant has a response or if to answer questions, we'll have that. And then following that, if there's any public comment, we'll have time for that. All right, our first case is case number RZ-08-21-24, Madison Wood Preservers Incorporated, a rezoning application. Madison Wood Preservers Incorporated has applied to rezone a roughly 3.71 acre parcel from R2 residential to M2 general industrial. The subject parcel is currently vacant land. If rezoned, the applicants intend to expand their receiving department. The parcel is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 39-95. Anything further there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is the second workshop that you are considering the rezoning. As you have specified, currently this 3.71 acre parcel is R2. The applicant is making the request to rezone it to M2. Staff has reviewed the request. We have looked at the zoning in the area. We find there are many of M2 lots, most of which are owned by the applicant, but it would not be any type of new zoning, if you will, to the area, so it wouldn't really look out of place. This M2 is general industrial, so certainly an expansion of a warehouse or storage or shipping or receiving is allowed by right in M2 zoning, so staff feels like it does fit. If you notice under agency comments, a lot of those agencies, it had no comment. And when we went through the development committee meeting, we had VDOT and Health Department there. There is no, my knowledge, for rezone, there's nothing to really get a request from those agencies. There's no new entrants or none of that planned for rezoning. Certainly, if this is approved and immerses or moves forward with a site plan, that would be the appropriate time. But so there are no comments. VDOT even said at that meeting there were questions by team members of Mad Wood about any grading and filling in areas near 29. And VDOT said that's just simply a permit process that they can do. So certainly this is an initial phase. I know there may be questions beyond rezoning. We have with us tonight for representing the applicant is John Michael Price, the CEO, and we have Mr. Bobby Berry, which I believe is titled CFO. All right, I got that correct. That is here on the applicant to speak to any request. A lot of the material that's in your packet is similar to last time. There was two comments that I'm tracking. If I missed a couple others, just let me know. One was the name of the owner. We did make that change. I just struck through, but we did make that as Madison Wood Preservers Incorporated, as shown on the GIS. And then there was a question about, is there private or public water and sewer on that 3.71 acre parcel? there was private utilities there. I don't know if there's any plan to use those private utilities. Again, this is a rezone application, but that was a question the commission had, and I just wanted to follow up with that answer. You can see before you on the screen there, Mr. Nichols has prepared what we call the adjacent and adjoining landowners letter. So those will go out most likely by the end of this week. This has been advertised, so you'll start seeing that, I believe, in this week's paper. It is scheduled for a public hearing on October the 2nd. I'm scrolling through, as you can see on the screen, this was part of the packet that explained the current challenges. Primarily, it is a logistics and congestion. If you're ever over and had the pleasure to meeting with their team, it's very tight. Even the administration, when they go in and out, you got scales right by the building. You got forklifts, you're playing Frogger. But this would definitely help with logistics, safety, and other things that they may choose to do. But again, the purpose here tonight is to consider rezoning. Ms. Garvara, who could not be here tonight, she did provide to kind of give you, if you look on the screen, what logistics would look like. Again, this is rezoning. Some of the facilities that are labeled, I think number 6 and 5, for example, those are if adjoining properties were ever to be purchased by Madison Wood Preservers. But the entrance, and I should have brought my little clicker. I'm going to take my mouse. There would be no change to entrance. Again, we're looking at rezoning, but I'm giving you a little bit more. It would be basically you would come through their existing entrance and dogleg back around should they move forward with actually a site plan if this rezoning goes through. So it's about logistics for them. It's about taking a 30 to 45 minute offload time to 10 to 15 minutes, which is good. You're not having trucks sitting there idle. They feel this is the solution for their congested and logistics needs. Staff, again, feels like zoning is adequate for what they're applying for M2. The use that they plan to use this property for if rezoned is a by right. So staff really does not see any issues with the rezoning application, and I stand by for any questions. And again, you have Mr. Price and Mr. Berry here tonight as the applicants for any questions.
Okay. Anyone have a question for Jonathan at this point? Okay. If not, does the applicant have anything you wish to address to us, or ready to begin answering any questions?
I do have one question
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
and
if
possibly
you would,
two.
if you would go to the-
Actually, it's more for Jonathan.
Jonathan,
I'm
okay.
Kind of thinking about this. So if you go back to the page, it's 5 of 5 of what we're talking about here, and it's for official use rezoning application. And I noticed at the same page on one of the other agenda items, there hasn't been any of that filled out. And that's for office use. It tells us when payments were received and if they've been received and when the public hearing dates are and that kind of stuff. And that's the same thing on one of the other things. One of the things that I noticed about this is if we could maybe possibly include on this same particular item is if VDOT or VDH could be part of this same thing so we know when they've been notified.
So,
Because it seems like VDOT's been usually drags their feet on some of this stuff, so are you with me on this stuff? Next page up. Go to the next page. There you go, right there.
so certainly we can fill out and let you know if it's been paid for. I can say we received the application, I think it was early August. It has been paid, the permit has been paid, and the public hearing has been advertised. But duly noted, Mr. Nichols is making notes to ensure that you have that information. As far as VDH, we can put in our, let me go back to this letter is kind of a staff letter to give you background on any updates. As you'll see when we get to Mr. Yates, updates are denoted in red. We certainly can tell you when Health Department approval has been made or VDOT. Normally, we include those letters, so they'll have that official action and date from that agency.
Well, also, can we maybe get a date of when they were notified? Because I know that a long times these things get strung out, you know.
Are you talking about when VDH and VDOT are notified?
Correct. Yes.
Sure.
I mean, that way we have a timeline, because a lot of times it seems like they've gone past their 60 days, and we're sitting here, well, is there past their time, we can go ahead and approve something on the agenda or not?
Sure.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? We had a pretty thorough presentation already, I think. So. No other questions for the applicant? All right, any public comment on this? All right, any further discussion on this? Okay, I think we're pretty well informed on the purposes of the rezoning here. So I guess we'll be ready to move on that at the joint meeting then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you, even though we didn't ask any questions from you. All right, and no public comment either, so we'll move on to next case. Case number SP-05-08-24, Yates Properties of Madison, LC, site plan application. Yates Properties of Madison, LC has filed a site plan application for property located at 4956 South Seminole Trail, Madison, Virginia, and further identified by tax map number 55-14. The site location is further described as being located on the west side of Route 29, Seminole Trail, just north of the intersection with Route 662, Shelby Road. The property contains a total of 10.684 acres and is zoned as Industrial Limited, or M1. The project, known as Self-Storage of Madison Addition, is proposing to construct a new 12,000 square foot self-storage building and travel aisles. Pursuant to Appendix 1 of Zoning, Article 9-1-25, storage facilities are a by right use in the M1 zoning district. The total project site area is 8.758 acres. A total of approximately 1.38 acres will be disturbed during construction. Anything to add there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I believe this came before the Planning Commission in May. So again, the Planning Commission is customarily 2 workshops, making sure things are ready to go for the joint meeting. And at that time, the commission pointed out concerns of a power line, its location to the proposed new storage unit, as well as concerns of a drain field. I have spoken on a couple occasions with Mr. Marvin Henchy from Henchy and Baines, and Mr. Henchy is a professional engineer. He is here tonight, as well as the owner applicant, Mr. Yates. The drawings, the site plan checklist was prior, so they did satisfy all that. However, the updated drawings were in your packet, and I would find it probably more appropriate, Chairman Carpenter, to ask either the owner or the engineer of how they resolve those. I can see from the drawings that one of these drawings shows a measurement of 7.5 feet. REC has a requirement, I believe you have to be 7.5 feet separation from the structure. And then as a handout here tonight, I received this after the packet was published, which is fine. I'm just mentioning for reference. This is I think it's a 4-page document stapled I provided you that Mr. Yates provided. It's a deed of easement, and it has the survey on the back. So that's all staff has to report. This is advertised for the public hearing in October. Based on my conversations with both the owner and the engineer, they feel all matters are either resolved or will be resolved before the October the 2nd public hearing. So again, they may be best suited to speak to resolution of the power line as well as the drain field.
Well, we've got the complete drawings up there then. Just what's in our packet is. Well, there.
Yeah, the one in the packet, I have on the screen, yeah, I have the one on the screen, well, the one on the packet was just a survey. The one on the screen shows you that, I need to bring that pointer up here. You see my arrow, that denotes 7.5 feet. This little line segment says existing overhead line, that follows through, so that's what Mr. Henchy is trying to denote there. But again, the updated drawings is what was in your packet, and they're here for any questions you may have. Thank you. I'll try not to blow. This thing's pretty powerful.
Power line easement there. I think we had questions about an existing drain field. And that is shown on this.
Yes, sir, and it's also, but again, Mr. Henchy or Mr. Yates can speak to it, that says new drain field there. But again, the engineer that designed it is here, so it may be best to call on them. But they are showing the new drain field, and then up in this, let me move it down a little bit, excuse me. This arrow indicates 7.5 feet separation between the building and the power line. Those were the last items I were tracking as questions from the Planning Commission from the last workshop. Staff stands ready to try to answer questions you may have for me, but again, you had the engineer of record here tonight that may be better suited for those questions.
Okay. Any questions for Jonathan?
I guess, I don't know if this will be a question for Mr. Henchy, but there's also, is this a right-of-way for Bell Atlantic? Has that been abandoned as well?
Yeah, let's move on to that then.
Okay.
If you would approach the microphone, identify yourself.
It's just noted on the site plan here, so I was just, it's on here, so I had to ask.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Marvin Henchy with Henchy Baines. That is an old existing easement. My understanding, there's nothing there.
Don't
Okay.
aim it at us.
I'll try to keep it up. Okay.
I wouldn't look into that.
Yeah, don't look.
Just push, there's a button there, there you go.
Oh, okay, right there. Yeah, there's an existing easement, I think Mike's referring to the one right there.
Correct, it goes all the way down and
stops.
comes back up 29.
Yeah, it kind of travels right down through there.
That's right.
My understanding is nothing's there.
I mean, I don't know what you normally do with an easement that comes through your property like that. I don't know if they have a problem. I mean, there's an easement there apparently, or has been abandoned or not. I mean, I don't know. It's just something maybe to be thought about.
It showed up on the title work that VDOT had done for the site when they, part of their project. And I don't know how old it is. I could try to do some research and see how long.
I just,
The
I'm
easement's
asking
been there.
because if they were to come
Yeah.
up later and just say, hey, we have an easement here or right of way and whatever. Looking out more for you than it is for us. Okay. When you see an easement, you can build on top of an easement, you would probably want to.
Right. And to follow up on what's happened since, I guess since the May meeting, we had the issue with the power line right there. And I talked to Rappahannock Electric, and they gave me guidance about the 7.5 foot of separation to maintain the corner right there. The other thing too that.
Was that moved then? Was the building moved because of that?
The building, yes, I took a lot of work. I kind of angled it in there, pushed it down the hill, and also we cut back the square footage. I think it's 9,600, is that right? Right, instead of 12,000. So we reduced the width of the building. But that drain field was a surprise, too.
I'll go back, I found the old documents from Stanley Board way back then, and the drain field was not put in where Stanley Board was put in, that's basically.
So that area was correct.
Where the drain field, we've surveyed now where the drain field is, the current drain field and the new drain field. And where the current drain field is not where it was supposed to be put in. I think it happened quite often in the old days, I remember Stanley Board as I worked in a lot of things. So we did discover the drain field was on me. So what I had done was, Jeff Early's office drew up the easement that you have a copy of, and they recommended we wouldn't record it until after we got approval. So it's ready to record as soon as we get approval at the October meeting. And what it states basically is that the current drain field is on me, and it's a working drain field, and it works fine. Once we can start construction on the building, then they have an easement, or we will move the drain field to the new location. But we couldn't see any reason, and the goods are, paying half of it too. So they didn't want to move it or do anything until we started construction. So that's basically it. So once construction starts, I come in for a building permit, we immediately move the drain field.
Has VDH approved the drain field?
It's in process right now. I talked to her way back in April, and she said everything's fine with an easement, not a problem. We just got the affluent amount from Marvin, which tells how much flow it is and all that good stuff, and it's the same as before when it was approved. So I feel like we'll be fine. As you know, VDH takes a little while, so I would hope we'd have it back by the October meeting. But it was done by Bryant Septic and Well. I think they've done a lot of things for you folks.
Ron Bryant.
He gave Bryant, so I think we'll be fine. I'm not worried about the drain field at all. But now that we found it.
And this question will be for Mr. Wright. Does that need to be signed before we approve that, the easement? Would that need, I understand they want to record it until after approval, but does that need to be signed, you think, before we approve that?
I guess the question back is it a requirement for us to approve it? And I'm not sure it is. I mean, although it's the right thing to do. I don't know that it's-
We can certainly sign it and notarize it. I just, Jeff Early didn't want to record it until it was approved, so.
Right.
We didn't get a copy of it signed. That's the reason I was asking.
Yeah, sure, we can sign and notarize it. no problem.
But if you don't need to, that's why I'm asking Mr. Wright.
Sure.
Normally, so it doesn't specify for site plans, plat details it would if it was something, but this is a site plan. I would like to, depending on how this goes, if they approve it, I mean, we definitely want a copy. If it's, the chicken or the egg, if it's later, that's fine, but our office would definitely want to have that.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
I guess one final question. I think you had said this would be the last expansion for this potential
Yes.
property, okay.
That's pretty much it.
So it wouldn't,
I'm out of room.
you wouldn't have beat into the old drain field was gonna be my next question if that was gonna pop up.
The only other thing that I noticed was that normally what we ask for is, one of the things that you checked, NA, it would be on page 404 of the site plan review checklist. And we usually ask for an outdoor lighting plan. Nothing more than a plan, but something that says that all lights will be pointing downward. You probably didn't think about that, but you just marked NA on that. I'm sorry?
It is, downward facing lighting is in our ordinances. And it's in our ordinances, I know we keep emphasizing it, and I don't understand why people are pointing lights towards the sky anyway, other than the laser they've got. I mean, I don't see why, if it's in our ordinance, we enforce it anyway, why is it such a big deal?
I didn't say, I was just making sure that they knew
I'm
that.
not just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that they knew that.
Talk about this
I mean, not so much that he checked NA, it was just making sure that that's in our ordinance.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
that would be time of building the permit application and everything. I would assume.
Well, we normally say that on a site plan review.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
that's-
Which
I can
is
go ahead
what we're
and
doing
note
now.
that.
That's why it's on the
Okay.
checklist, yes.
I think for a cleaner record, if it could be notarized in advance, talk with your counsel, but, I mean, if, nothing appears it's gonna change on this, so I think before the second, well, we would publish the packet, that, whatever that last week of September is, so if we can have it,
No, it's no problem, we can do it, I just want to put you on shore.
yeah.
Just won't record it, that's okay.
At-
Okay, got it. Don't walk off with the razor.
So I just have one point that I would probably typically leave to our building department, but since it was sort of specifically brought up, that 7.5-foot horizontal clearance from the building to the power line, I'm assuming that the 12.5-foot vertical clearance also comes into play there equally as much, or sort of be like a diagonal.
Yeah, I provided the memo that I got from them, and he highlighted the 7.5-foot horizontal. If we meet that, he's fine. If it's going over top of the building, they need like the 12.5-foot clearance. I had a situation in Culpeper with an apartment that we didn't have the 7.5-foot horizontal clearance, but we met from the corner of the building, to the closest wire. So, but if we got my understanding is we got the 7.5-foot horizontal, we're fine.
Okay, so, yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you then.
Thank you. I'll just scan that to you, if that's okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All right, thank you.
Any public comment on that case?
Thank you, Marvin. That thing's like a lightsaber, you just swirl it around, thank you.
Okay, that being the case, the next case is case number SUP-09-18-24, Meander Inn LLC, a special use permit application, introduction, so I guess this is our first workshop on this.
Yes, sir.
Meander Inn LLC has filed a special use permit, SUP application to operate an event venue located at 2333 North James Madison Highway, Locustdale, Virginia, 22948, and further identified by tax map parcel 52-1D. The property is zoned as agricultural, A1, and contains 77.067 acres. The property is improved by an existing historic manor house, outbuilding cottages, and barn. The applicant proposes to operate an event venue consisting of the existing building, converting a horse stable into a wedding facility, and adding 10 separate 200-square-foot cabins, short-term rentals, on the existing property. All right, anything to add on that?
Yes, sir. So staff has reviewed this. First, since this was a special use permit, it went through the preliminary development review committee. And that committee, I will tell you, it's good things coming out, because sometimes there are ideas, and then we look at, all right, what are we really trying to do, and what's the ordinance? So I think initial staff comments along with Mr. Seek was maybe campground, but really what Mr. Seek is trying to do is not, hey, everybody come and bring your campers. He's really looking to, as stated in the intro, renovate a horse stable to be able to use it as a wedding facility, and have 10 of these separate short-term rentals that would be for folks who have an events on their site. So in conversation at that committee, it was recommended that utilize the event venue, which is allowable via special use permit in A1. All of those things, such as weddings and short-term rentals and all, are allowed in a special use permit under A1. So it seemed like it fit that, and everyone was in agreement. So again, it is converting an existing horse stable into a wedding facility, and allow for 10 separate 200-square-foot cabins. The cabins would be outside of the floodplain. The floodplain is more within, there's a tree line there running to the left of the property. VDOT, as this date, is pending comments as well as pending comments from the Health Department. Again, this is the first workshop, so I believe we have adequate time to receive those comments from them. The applicant put forth a concept plan, kind of giving you a layout of what they envision of this new event venue. I did also include in your packet a GIS tax map overview, so you can physically see the acreage and the property layout for yourself. I also have that on the screen. Mr. Seek is here tonight, so if you have questions for the applicant, certainly he is suited and ready to take those questions.
Okay, any questions for Jonathan?
Jonathan, I have one for you. So when this, when we're trying to meet, below that 1 acre land disturbance, does that 1 acre encompass the road, parking lot, drain field?
Yeah,
Structures.
it's all of that, so it's all of it combined, so if it's,
Disturbed
yeah,
land.
total disturbance, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions for Jonathan? All right, if not, the applicant is here? Yes. If you would go to the microphone, identify yourself, and tell us a little bit about what you're planning.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having the opportunity. My name is Chris Seek, and I'm one of the owners of the Inn and Tavern at Meander. Just a way of introduction, I've spent my day job, I'm a sustainable tourism consultant. So I work with counties and governments around the world to use tourism as a force for good. So I try to help destinations and places like this maintain your rural integrity, protect your environment, and support the preservation of your historical assets as well. So just finished today, launched a statewide destination stewardship plan for the state of Colorado, looking at how tourism can support its destination stewardship efforts. So this is what I'm passionate about, and when I had the opportunity to buy this property with a group of friends and family, we wanted to jump on it. We knew it was a special property, obviously has a lot of historical significance. I hope you all know the history of this place. We feel like more people in Madison County should know and visit it. I hear so many people tell me, I've spent my whole life driving by that place. I've never gone up the driveway, and that's something we really want to change. We really want to make the place more opening for the community. We see the event space as a key way to do that. But one of the reasons why also is when we bought the place, we knew that a 12-room facility, it was owner-operated, and that's really the model for these bed and breakfasts. And the previous owners, the two ladies there, they had it for over 30 years. They started in 1992. They were one of the pioneers of bed and breakfast in the state, and they did a great job. But again, it's owner-operated, and they were running it. When we bought it, we knew we needed to have a professional manager on site. My wife and I have full-time jobs, so do the other owners, so we need to rely on someone. And when you start paying for that full-time service, we want to keep the quality of the cooking. We have a full-time chef as well who does amazing meals too. I hope everyone has a chance to come out and experience that. We just realized that the finances are just not cutting it with 12 rooms, and we're also losing a lot for the event venues. We get a lot of inquiries all the time, and when they find out we have to rent a tent and rent tables and rent chairs and do all of that, they go somewhere else. And so we're just leaving money on the table. We're also full almost every weekend. And so we have wait lists for people who want to come in and stay with us, and I hate turning them down. And so we knew that really does make this property what we know it can be, and not only a better job creator for the community, create more tax revenue for the county as well, is that we need to expand. But with that expansion, we also recognize, and one of the things that drew us to Madison County was your approach to development, and we really want to make sure that this plan stays true to that essence of sustainable tourism. We don't want to change anything. The way we've laid this out and the way we're planning to do this, you wouldn't even be able to see the new units from the road, even from the guest facilities, because of the way they're tucked behind the existing barn. There's a tree line that would actually protect the site of the other ones. Our neighbors on the other side of the river, we've already started outreach to them and started informing them, inviting them actually over this weekend. We're having a reception to kind of share with them our plans. And so, yeah, so our plan is to look at ways that we can add this. We went with the model with these tiny homes, these tiny cabins, just because, again, just from having as little disturbance as possible, really impressed with the quality of craftsmanship and also just the idea of sustainability as well. So, you know, we want to do it right, and we want to make sure that we're a good partner in the community. So we're open to any feedback or suggestions of how we can do this the right way.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, I have, looking at your conceptual drawing here, the old stable, it looks like you're planning a pretty serious renovation on that, for that center section. Yeah, it's here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, I mean, the original stables appear to be just basically a long row, single story. And in your conceptual drawing, you have a vastly expanded center section that looks like. Can you go into a little more detail?
Sure, yeah.
about
So
that?
this drawing here, we back right actually before COVID, when we started looking at this idea and plan, you know, we reached out to just an architect that was from the area just to help us kind of bring this to life, just so we could try to help with the raise on the funding. So we wanted to show kind of what it could be. That's not by any means what we're proposing right there as it is. I just wanted to kind of get an idea of what the barn could be. You know, I think as we've kind of went down this path, originally we were trying to get more accommodation units in this building because we knew we needed more space. But once we figured out the solution with the tiny cabins, we realized we don't need that there. So now we're looking at a much simpler way, not really money-wise. We don't want to spend as much as we originally planned on that. So it's really just that barn wedding, opening it up, you know, making sure that it has that feel of a barn, and keep it really simple for receptions. We wouldn't do any cooking down there. The cooking would still be done at either catered and brought in, or it would be done at the main house.
Okay, so basically, you now plan to just open up the inside of the
Correct.
of the structure that's there.
Yeah.
The tiny houses or the RV, I wouldn't call them RVs, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's avoid that term. Those are going to be on gravel pads, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the plan, yes.
Okay. So those are fixed, they're not mobile?
Correct.
Okay. They do have water, sewer?
Yes.
Electrical?
Yep.
Okay. And I see you have a parking area for, I guess that's one of the other questions, is access to those cabins, the parking area and things like that. Can you?
Yeah,
kinda
so,
clarify?
yeah, so we have, right there, right now, the way that our driveway is, you go up the drive, we have a split that goes by the barn, that's the gravel area there. We wanted to have some extra parking area for events, obviously, but also for those new cabins, because of where they're gonna be located, we don't want guests to walk really far from where they have to park. So the idea is to put a gravel parking area, right in front of those trees there, and then on the other side of the tree line would be the actual cabins.
So basically, you're looking at access paths from the parking area or
Yes.
something? Okay. These are all along the river there?
Yeah, I don't want to go down by the river is where the
It's like-
floodplain
it's
is,
like
so it's
on
like
the
on the
bluff.
hill.
There's
Yeah,
a
it's
bluff there.
it's on the way down towards the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question?
I would just like to say, I think Nathan's got something to say as well. But what a nice package you put together. here.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
very nice. You went well in depth and gave us a lot to look at and everything. Very nice. I would like to reiterate on something that Nathan had brought up. And so, in the understanding of back to your 1 acre thing, because I read the same thing, all this is going to be done with 1 acre disturbance?
So this is where we're starting the process now. So the first thing,
Parking lot and-
yeah, so we sat down, I used the GIS tool, and I just kind of preliminary, just laid out, just looking at what we're looking at for each unit and what that's going to be. But that, to me, is the next step. What I need to do is kind of make sure that it's, because everything I was told, that's keep under an acre, and it would go a lot easier. So that's going to kind of help us determine what and how we do this.
Yeah, I think, yes, somebody told you that and they were correct. But, like I looked at this case before this, and that Mr. Hinchy had put together, the the site plan engineer, I'm assuming he's an engineer. It's a 12,000 square foot building, and they're anticipating 1.38 acres, which is 60,000 square feet. So essentially 5 times the amount of the building is what they're planning on disturbing. Now, I'm sure the parking that they need to put in for access for those units and all is pretty extensive, but when I look at this sort of preliminary plan, new septic, I'm assuming that's gonna be about 10,000 square feet of disturbance. The gravel parking lot, I'm sure this is very conceptual, but appears to be about twice the size of the drain field. So I'm thinking maybe that's 20,000 square feet, plus another 2,000 square feet for the buildings, plus a little bit. I think you should do some research into that, have an engineer look at it, see what the actual disturbance is gonna be. It's very likely, it's not gonna be the easier path, but it might be
Okay, yeah,
the best
absolutely.
path.
Yeah, I think the goal was just to start the conversation, make sure that, we're in line with the, the opportunity before we start spending money on engineers and things. We just wanted to kind of start the process, make sure that what we're proposing is aligned with what you guys would like to see. And then, obviously, we need to get an engineer to do the site plan, and that's where we would be able to get more detailed around these.
Any other comments?
Just a comment about the, I was gonna ask you if you had talked to your neighbors.
Yes, just started.
You mentioned you talked to one, but I would reach out to all of them and everyone behind them.
Yep.
And invite them over for that same dinner.
Yep, we have them on Saturday, so yeah, you guys are all welcome as well. We want to do better of just welcome everyone. We want more people to use the facilities and everything, and so, just want to change that. We don't like people driving by and not knowing the history and not being able to experience that place, so, yeah. But well taken, and that's what I've been
They
told
are
by a
very
lot of
well.
people.
One question I have, economic impact for the county. You mentioned a little bit about your current kind of footprint with employees and staff, but what do you, let's just say this is approved and developed, as your concept here outlines, what's your?
Yeah, well, I mean, we
of
think we can
employees?
easily double, I mean, we're basically doubling our capacity. Right now, we have 12 rooms with an extra 10 rooms. We're now up to 22 rooms, that allows us now to get into that event space, and then we can get now all unit rentals, because we get groups that we're gonna put some people down there and these, and so we lose a lot of that. So we see it doubling our revenue, which means doubling our tax revenue to the county, and then we also see a need. Now, from a staff perspective, we won't need to necessarily double our staff. That's one of the reasons why it's economies of scale, right? I don't need 2 general managers, but absolutely we'll need a lot more of our line workers, of our servers and our house cleaners and maintenance as well. So we see more jobs coming in that direction. I mean, we know we need the help, and that's the problem. It's it's an older property, so you need more staff, but you don't have the revenue to support it. So that's been one of the problems for us, and so that's why we want to make this expansion.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Is there already a special use permit for this, what's going on there now?
Yes.
Would this be, there is?
Yeah, there's 2.
Would this be an addendum to that, or is this a separate?
I would like to treat this as a new special use permit because it's definitely a different use. I mean, they have their bed and breakfast now, but this is kind of going beyond that. It's adding to, but it's just easier in my opinion. But if Hannon has any legal advice on that, I would treat this as a new SUP.
We actually have 2 special units. We have with special permits. We have one for the restaurant and one for the bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
So when we bought the property, that's what it came with, those 2 special use permits.
So this would be 3.
This will be number 3.
Well, actually, I think, this is just a general comment. This is exactly what the event venue ordinance is designed for. Rather than to have this SUP and that SUP and a third one and a fourth one, the event venue ordinance puts it all under one tent, and you're set to go for that.
Okay,
So the existing SUPs would be subsumed into this one.
I see, okay,
I think that would probably be
okay.
Jonathan,
logical.
Mr. Chairman, if you
Yeah.
can, Jonathan, a quick question for you. How many event venue SUPs do we have in the county?
I'd have to bring that up, or bring that back to you, sir. I can't think of many because a lot of folks who have been operating, think of our largest one up in Syria, they've been around longer, but we certainly can at least attempt to bring you back a number. Yeah. That ordinance kind of came about through prior case, I guess I can name it, when Crescere was being done. That's really when that zoning ordinance was being discussed and implemented. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion?
I'll just make one more comment. That's for feedback, and I can only speak for myself, but I like it on first sight. So.
Keep a historic site available for the public to see, yes.
Yeah, that's our goal. I mean, I look at Montpelier and I see how many people go there and how many people are proud and, you know, visit that. And I'm thinking, why do we not have more people coming in and visiting on the weekend? We've had some school groups from the county come out and from Orange County. We'd like to see more from Madison County and just, you know, make it part of the community. And then you look at Willow Grove down the road from us and what they're doing, and we'd love to be able to do the same thing for Madison County.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Any public comment? We have lots of public here. All right, no public comment either then. All right, Jonathan, would you just like to introduce the upcoming correspondence, et cetera? Or?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So your public hearing is set. I believe that's October the 2nd. Excuse me. What numbers do we have here? That is a typo in the,
Yeah. October the 42nd, okay.
yeah, we've added days. October the 2nd is the joint hearing. You have two cases that you will be hearing that night. Both were on their final workshops tonight. That is Madison Wood Preserver's rezone application and then the Yates Properties of Madison LC site plan application. So those are the two that are set for October.
Okay, and hopefully for Mr. Yates, we'll have that easement agreement.
As well as the VDH letter.
Yes, by then, okay.
Yes, sir. It's not on here. It really transpired recently. Do you want me just to give you a brief broadband news? So Madison County, you've probably read the articles by now, but Madison County was awarded the VATI 2024 grant. That was primarily for the northern part of the county or northwestern part of the county. You keep hearing me talk about Banco and so forth. However, Firefly, the provider or the ISP for that project, was able to go back and really look at unserved or underserved areas. And when they give us their official maps, we'll put that out. But I believe we have one on the website now. You'll see you'll see a big red target, and that means the coverage area, but you'll see these little red specks far out in Oak Park that already has Comcast in some areas, but they may not have reached that home that had a half-mile or mile-long driveway. On top of that, the eastern or what is that, northeast part, going the Wolftown Hood Road, it's late in my directions, but that was a territory that was challenged and won by CenturyLink, and then later that was acquired by Brightspeed. Brightspeed just recently, had called and said, look, we just can't do it. We're reaching an agreement with Firefly. Firefly did make that announcement at the VATI announcement at Early Mountain this past week that they will be servicing that. The good news on those customers is Firefly had to build that main line anyway, because to go from the fiber hut in Standardsville to the one over in Hoover Ridge Park, they had to come that route. So hopefully it won't delay that project beyond its initial intent. Brightspeed had a mid-December 2024 date. I do not know if there's going to be a new timeline since it now is Firefly. Officially, DHCD should be putting a letter out because they have to final stamp it, but they were at that announcement too, and there's no indication that that is not truth. It's just we have to get the official paperwork. So hopefully we'll get all the information, and then we're going to update our website so folks can see. But it seems like at this time we'll have one provider. But Madison County, and speaking to all these other counties when I go to planning district meetings for PD9, it's actually one of those times Madison's ahead. The provider here, even though it's make-ready work, you're not seeing drops to the home yet. That's going to be starting soon. And as soon as we get that monthly recurrence, we're going to be giving to the board, and we can put on our website how many connections this month. Next month, how many connections. But we are further along than our neighboring, much larger localities, and I'm proud of that. So it is coming. I know a lot of people have been hearing that for years, but I did want to give you an update on recent news.
Thank you. All right, do we have any further business? Any other items? If not,
Move to adjourn.
motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.